Manhattan Bank has been serving the Gallatin Valley since 1905. Started by local farmers in order to help grow the agriculture industry, Manhattan Bank has since grown into a full-service bank serving the entire valley. With branches in Manhattan, Churchill, Three Forks, and Bozeman, you're never far from your local bank.
As banks are consolidating and changing, Manhattan Bank sets themselves apart through consistency and a small-town banking feel. Come see why we have been in the valley for well over 100 years. Stop by the new building in Bozeman, see Justin Skillman and Tyler Dosher for your business banking, and Brad Whitmer for your home loans. Go Cats.
Member FDIC.
Welcome, everybody, to the R&R Catcast, a fan-based podcast focusing on Montana State athletics. We're two dudes named Ryan from the state of Washington talking about our dear Montana State. We hope you enjoy. All right. Welcome back, Bobcat fans. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the R&R Catcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Foley. He's your host, Ryan Thornburg. We are the Ryans of the Big Sky Podcast Network. We are brought to you by Manhattan Bank, providing you your banking needs. 4 great places in the Gallatin Valley: Churchill, Bozeman, Manhattan, and Three Forks. Go see Justin, guys, over there to take care of your banking needs. A personal bank for personal people. We're happy to be sponsored by them. Thorny, we're here to talk the recap of Northern Colorado. That's who we played. And we're going to preview the Weber State game coming up, the top 10 matchup in Bozeman.
Top 5.
How you doing, buddy? Top 5.
I'm doing good, man. Had a good weekend of football. Of course, the Bobcat victory on Saturday, but I spent Sunday going down to the Seahawks game with my dad, who's in town, and my kids. Brought them to their first NFL game. A lot of fun. I didn't care who won the game because I'm a Rams fan. It was the Seahawks and Cardinals. I feel like I should have had just an NFL hat on, like Rob Lowe had on a couple years ago, where he became a meme just for wearing an NFL hat with the NFL logo on it. I felt that would have been appropriate for me at a game where I didn't care about, but it was a lot of fun going to the game. Experienced that for the first time with my son and my daughter, and that was pretty cool. And my dad got to come along. So good weekend of football, but a busy weekend, and happy to be here recording with you on Monday.
It's a big week. But speaking of NFL, we can't go too much further without speaking of Troy Anderson and Alex Singleton. Troy had 13 tackles, just ripped it up against, who did the Falcons play?
Niners.
The Niners, yeah. Yeah. And then Alex Singleton balled out tonight on Monday Night Football, just quit just recently. He had 21 solo tackles, 19 solo tackles. Holy cow. I think that's an NFL record. If it's not, it's close.
Yeah, pretty insane performance by Alex Singleton. Pretty cool having 2 Bobcats leading their respective teams, both linebackers and tackles. Pretty awesome weekend for Cats and the pros. Pro Cats.
Right on. Okay. Well, listener, if you're a first-time listener, we want to say thanks for joining us. Ryan and I have been doing this podcast for, I think, like 4 years now, Ryan. Is that
2018 is when we started this bad boy.
Wow. Holy cow.
100+ episodes.
On Mondays, we like to break things down. We recap the game. We preview the next game. But before that, we go into where Montana State is at in the stats rankings, the FCS stats rankings. We talk about Coach Vigen's press conference and any kind of news that comes out from that. We'll give our Big Sky Podcast power rankings as well. But first, we do a little segment called What's in Your Golden Coolie?
What's in your Golden Coolie?
Ah, crap, I got to take it out of my coolie. Wasn't prepared. I'm in my bedroom. I'm in a different recording location because my dad is still here. I got the Bitterroot Brewing Barley Ridge Nut Brown Ale, which I had, I don't know, several episodes ago, and I commented how much I didn't really care for it. Hence why I still have some in my fridge. It was a 6-pack. I still got like 2 more left after this, but nothing else sounded really good. So I was like, whatever. I'll just pull that guy out. So there it is. The Bitterroot Nut Brown from, where's Bitterroot Brewing? Jeez, is that Missoula?
No.
Flathead?
No. Bitterroot Valley.
Yeah, it's like Hamilton then, probably, huh? Yep, Hamilton. There you go.
So there it is.
All right.
Yeah. You should put like the last two on your porch and see if anybody takes them.
You know what? I don't hate it. There's not many beers I hate enough in the world that I just won't drink them. I'll work my way through them.
All right,
better
buddy.
than no beer.
So last night I was doing my show prep. I went over to Perry Street and I filled my growler with their gold-winning IPA. In 2020, they won the Great American Beer Festival West Coast IPA, just their flagship IPA. It's clean, it's crisp, it's not hazy, but it's delicious. That's what I got, buddy.
Solid choice, man. Sounds delicious.
Yeah, I love it.
Award winning. Never can go wrong there.
Yeah, just like they've had 3 gold medal beers at that brewery. Crazy. They just won one for the best fresh hop beer in North America. It's crazy. Those guys are producing awesome beer. Anyways, all right. Well, thanks for joining us again on that Golden Coolie segment. Let's get into Coach Vegans. Well, Ryan, hold on there. I think maybe we should go into stats first before we go into the press conference.
You mean the poll again?
FCS stats.
This happened last time. I'm prepared for you now just to say the word stats and actually mean a poll. All right. We got South Dakota State taking over the number 1 spot after beating North Dakota State on the road, like 22-21, something like that. So they take over the number 1 spot, followed up by Sacramento State, who moved all the way up from 5th. Who did Sac beat? It's escaping me right now. Eastern. So, I mean, not a awesome win, I guess, on the road at Eastern, a team that, they have 1 win on this year, but enough to boost them from 5th to number 2. The Bobcats move up from number 4 to number 3 with the win over the Bears, and there's North Dakota State falling from number 1 all the way down to number 4, followed up by Weber State. Holy Cross keeps moving up, keeps winning 6-0. The Grizz fall down to number 7 after their horrible defeat on their home field against the mighty Idaho Vandals. No sadness here. Incarnate Word, number 8. Jackson State, number 9. And rounded up by Chattanooga. I feel like Chattanooga has been 10 this entire season. Every time I look at this thing, Chattanooga's in there at number 10. But there they are still, 5-1. And Idaho.
Man, it's
cracks into the top 25 at number 17. And I think that's the rest of the Big Sky. That's the rest of it. So just Idaho, all the way from unranked to number 17 after their big win on the road in Missoula.
Well, they were getting votes last week, but yeah, that was a huge win over in Missoula. The fallout from that, what do you think is going to happen with the Grizzlies this week when they go to Sacramento? They're playing on ESPN2. That's a big game for them.
Huge game, man. Like, I don't know if the Grizz are... Sorry, my mic's like dipping down here. I don't know if the Grizz are going to be able to bounce back from that or not. I don't know how teams usually do after a loss, but that's a tough bounce back game. Idaho is supposed to be a game you win before you get into the stretch against Sac State, Weber State, and the Cats, but I don't know. I'm not sure they're going to be able to pull that off down there. That's going to be a really hard game. The Grizz might... they could be in some big trouble here.
Yeah, they got exposed a little bit, didn't they? They're not good at making in-game adjustments, and not that I care. Like, I want the Grizzlies to lose every game, to be honest with you. Like, if they were playing chess against somebody, I'd be rooting for that person to beat them in chess as well. Like, let's not mix things up right here. I want the Grizz 0-11 every year, to be honest, but it's good when we beat the Grizz when they're good as well. The conference is better when the Grizzlies are good. The conference is high right now. Like, to have Weber, Montana, Sacramento State, Montana State in the, top 5, and then, Montana, is coming in at number 7. It's hard to deny the power of the Big Sky right now. It used to be the Missouri Valley Conference, but I would have to say the Big Sky is probably the top conference in FCS right now.
Seems like it, yeah. Eastern Washington maybe taking the brunt of Idaho's resurgence here. So pretty good year for the Big Sky so far. Exciting times.
Yeah, so I think Montana's going to have a tough time down there. Like, it's a must win for them. Sac State, they don't seem to be affected by the national narrative that is the hype train for Montana. They just they're in their own bubble.
They are.
In a way.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's weird. They don't get enough credit. I think it's good to see them as number 2 now. I mean, that's nice.
It's as good as credit as you can get.
The instant reaction. Yeah, I said on the instant reaction show, I think their defense is suspect. That was the term I used. I still think that if I'm gonna move right into my power rankings, because I will tell you, I think Weber's better than Sacramento State. I think they're a more complete team than Sac is right now. And I voted them number 1 in my power rankings. I did have Sac as number 2. I put Montana State number 3, Idaho number 4, the Grizzlies number 5, Davis 6, Eastern 7, Portland State, Idaho State, Northern Colorado, NAU, and Cal Poly. Or I might have put Cal Poly in front of NAU. I'm so sick and tired of the Lumberjacks. Those guys suck. But
sick and tired. Like, no one's talking about them. Why are you sick and tired of them?
Oh man, I was just like, I don't know what bugs me about that team. Maybe it's that they had the easiest schedule and they suck so bad.
That they're wasting their golden opportunity. Is that what's bugging you?
Yeah. I think that's really what it is, to be honest. How'd you vote?
I voted, I think, exactly the same as you. Sac State, Weber State, Bobcats.
No,
Idaho.
I put Weber 1.
Did you put Weber? No, I kept Sac State number 1.
Yeah, I put Weber 1.
So I put Sac State 1, Weber, Montana State, Idaho, Montana, UC Davis, Eastern Washington, and then I don't remember. At that point, I don't don't really care.
Although, man, I think Eastern could be maybe bottom 3. Portland State could easily beat Eastern. I have no clue about Eastern right now. They're a weird team.
It's basically
Absolutely
like once you get past UC Davis, it's bad. It's bad this year. And Eastern Davis is like they're okay, but they're at least a respectable team. And maybe they give Eastern a game now. I have no idea, but that's how it went. The final rankings from the actual combined poll: Sac State, Weber State, Montana State, Idaho, Montana, UC Davis, Eastern, Portland State, NAU, Idaho State, Northern Colorado, Cal Poly. From the esteemed Big Sky Conference Podcast Network, which consists of several people like us covering their respective teams throughout the Big Sky. So always a little fun to talk about. It's a power poll, so it's not a ranking. It's much more influenced on what have you done for me lately? How are you looking at the moment? Much more fluid and dynamic. So kind of a fun thing to talk about on the show and to vote in. It means nothing.
It is fun, though. I've come around on it. I was a little bit on the fence earlier on in this season. I think I'm a little bit more.
It gets you paying a little bit more attention. It gets you thinking. You at least have to go look at the scores or something like that. It gets you a little bit more invested, maybe. But you did a good job on the beginning of the show talking about, if you're a first time listener, some things to expect. If you're a first time listener, you need to understand that we're just fans. We might sound like we're like official media. Maybe I'm giving us too much credit, but we're absolutely just two fans here, two dads. So I want people to keep that in mind. We haven't mentioned that in a while. We're just a couple of fans. So our opinions are very fan oriented, probably biased as hell. So just know that going into our recaps and our previews coming up.
Yeah. Fan-based podcast. Says it in their intro. There it is.
Sure does.
All right. Well, let's get into the vegan presser. Most week he hasn't had much to say, but this week there was some nuggets in there that you're like, whoa, that's some big news.
A lot of
let's talk about injuries. Yeah, let's talk about injuries. You want to take one of those, or I can go for it because I have a list right here.
Just plow through, man. Let's get this moving.
Okay. Well, in not chronological order, but just going down the list I have, Reddy Short is out for the season. He took a knee injury on Idaho State's game where he hit the player, and then miraculously Callahan O'Reilly came up with the interception, if you can remember that one. That's a tough blow because Rylan Ort
continues to be unavailable.
With Rylan, oh my gosh, I'm a little bit pissed off about that.
I'm very pissed.
I'm a little bit torqued up.
But we don't know what happened, so it's easy to get mad.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of things that could have happened that are holding this up, and we're not going to speculate. But it's very frustrating on the outside looking in.
Okay. More news. Marcus Ware. Was he right guard or right tackle? I can't remember off the top of my head. Right tackle. Marcus Ware, busted ankle, out for the season.
Ugh.
Man. All right.
He was playing really well.
Cole Sane's out. He's week to week. Cole Sane would then be right guard. He is out week to week. Coach said he could be back this week. I don't think he will, but we'll get him back soon.
I think
if not,
Ashley Washburn. Is it Washburn? I don't have her name in front of me. I think the reporter anchor for some news station. Goodness, I'm terrible. I'm sorry, Ashley. But I thought she mentioned that he might be back for NAU. She was the only one who had that on her timeline on the tweet. So anyway, relatively short time. Probably out for Weber, but should be back here before the end of the season.
Yeah, Montana State has a bye after this week, a late bye. Yeah, I don't feel like I remember a bye this late in the season, but it's coming up. That's a good thing for Montana State. So keep it on in the list. Titan Fleischman, another offensive tackle. Is that right?
I think he rotated around. I'm not sure where his actual backup position was.
Re-injured his knee. He's out for the season.
He re-injured it? I didn't catch that.
Yeah, so early season injury, re-injured his knee. He's out for the season. Titan Fleischman out. So here's what's going to happen. Jacob Kettles is going to play right tackle. He's taking care of Marcus's role. And then Omar Agbadian, I think that's how you say it. He's filling in that. Yeah, it's on the depth chart.
It's on the depth chart. That's the only reason I'm saying that. I bet on. I had it ready to go.
Ibedion.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. There it is. Both 300-pound guys, like young guys, but both have played a spell. Omar's going in at right guard. To be honest, Ryan, if there's a crew that I'm not too worried about, it feels like it's the offensive line. I think Coach Armstrong does a fantastic job. He doesn't get enough credit, in my opinion. But yeah, we're getting kind of thin there. We're getting dangerously thin. If we play Weber and two of those guys go out, then we have some problems. So it was a weird game over in Greeley, Colorado, to see a couple guys on the line go down. That's never a good thing.
Hey, I want to interject a Golden Coolie question because this is a perfect time for it. Nick Deal, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, on Twitter asks us, what concerns you more, the offensive line depth or the depth at safety?
Safety, probably.
Yep, that's where I'm at. I think our offensive line's good still. Obviously, one guy gets hurt. That's another problem, but there's nobody left at safety. I guess we got guys we can move around at safety. Okada, Tyrell Thomas can maybe play some safety. But overall, man, I think the offensive line is going to be good. The safety position has been less than stellar opposite Jeff Manning. So, yeah, I'd say the safety is my biggest concern right now because it hasn't been very good. Brady Short's gone now. Rylan Orp continues to be gone. So it's basically who's listed on the depth chart now. It's got to be Eli Abbey, right? So it's Kendrick Bailey, Eli Abbey, and Tyson Pottinger is listed as the backup to Jeffrey Manning Jr. Somebody else asked us a question here, and I don't have it up. Do you have Bobcat Nation up by chance?
Sure do.
Somebody asked about moving players around. Was that on Bobcat Nation or was it on Twitter? Oh, actually, it was our friend Justin Skillman asked me today. Where did he go? I wonder why Tyrell Thomas, the move isn't being moved over. I'm sorry, I'm reading this very poorly. Why isn't Tyrell Thomas moved over to take the other safety spot now that Ort may not be back? Yes, it is kind of a Coolie question. It's a really good point. Like, what would you reshuffle maybe possibly in the secondary? Would you put Okada back at safety and Tyrell Thomas take nickel, or maybe Tyrell Thomas could help out at the safety spot? I'm not sure Tyrell Thomas has ever played safety, but he's played nickel.
See, I kind of think Okada is better when he's closer to the line.
Yes.
So I would probably put Tyrell Thomas back at safety and keep Okada at nickel.
It's a pretty small safety, though. What is Thomas, 5'8"? Although I'm not sure if Ty Okada is much bigger. He might be 5'10". Got him on here. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
5'11",
tough one,
5'11"
man.
Okada. Where is Daryl Thomas? Isn't even on the 2 deep here. Oh, there he is. 5'8". Yeah. I mean, I guess he probably had to put Okada at safety, just size-wise.
Yeah,
But that's something we have to look at, though, because
still 5'8".
Kendrick Bailey ended up playing a better game. He got better in the second half. That angle he had on Elijah Dotchin's first touchdown run was atrocious. But and to his credit, he did buck up and play better, especially in pass coverage in the second half. I mean, we need him to play well, is really what it boils down to. We need Kendrick Bailey to be able to play at a competent level for us to be able to keep winning football games in November. Because he might be it. He might be the guy. Kendrick Bailey, a guy brought in years ago as a JC guy who didn't hardly even play any football at all at Montana State before this year, is now, like, by default, our starting strong safety.
I mean, you got to think Ryan Lenort's coming back. I don't think this is going to be a year-long process, but I mean, this is becoming really kind of weird at this point.
It is weird, but good questions from our Nick and Justin on those. But anything else we want to talk from the presser here? That's what we're still on.
Coach Vegan, echoed my sentiments. He said he was frustrated when they went down 14-3. But they didn't panic, and that's kind of a hallmark of Coach Vegan's teams, right? Other things he said, he talked a little bit about Weber. He said they're solid to really good in every aspect. They've added the RPO element. I think last week I talked about how Weber State has a new offensive coordinator, and I kind of looked him up. His name is Mickey Mental. My son,
it's pretty sweet.
My son goes, "Is that Mickey Mantle?" I go, "I don't think so." And then when you click on his bio, he was head coach at Notre Dame, Division II Notre Dame College.
Thank you for clarifying.
A little bit, so interesting. So yeah, we'll get into the Weber State stuff, but a lot of respect. Coach Vegan is. He's fully aware that Montana State has to honestly play their best game on Saturday.
A couple more things I want to mention from the press conference here. The big one, I guess, Isaiah Fonze, I think, came out good from his doctor's appointment, which would have been last week, I believe. So now he is actually practicing with his helmet on, which is the first thing he's done this year.
Football stuff. Nice.
Vegan very much said that he's still week to week, and it's nothing to get too excited about. I'll be the judge of that, Brent Vigan. Isaiah Fonze practicing with his helmet on makes me pretty excited. I have no idea if he's going to play this year or not, if he's going to redshirt. I still don't know, but that makes me excited. Just the fact that he's progressing in some capacity. Like, it's been so long since we've heard anything at all about Fonze. So that was good to hear. I enjoyed that.
Oh, before we move on to let's give props to Willie Anderson.
That was the other thing I was going to say.
Willie Patterson, co-offensive player of the week. Woo! I'm just going to give him a slow clap because Willie's had himself a year, just a year. That guy has come on the scene and just been not only the receiver that we needed this year, but just a leader. Watch him speak. Go watch the thing he did with Ashley Washburn. I can't remember the name of the segment. She's been doing a couple of them. I think it's called The Last Drive. That's what it's called. The Final Drive or The Last Drive.
I think it's the Final Drive.
Yeah. And he talks about his brother, how he gets inspiration from his brother up in heaven. That is, put your hair on. And when you listen to him, and then when you start watching him in his press conferences, he's so well put together. He wants to be a motivational speaker, and it's coming across. I couldn't be happier for that guy because I agree. There was a media member out there that said, he's kind of putting together a campaign for an all Big Sky kind of accolade year. He really is doing that. I'm stoked for Willie P.
Yep.
First time he's got all conference, or not all conference, but player of the week honors. Well deserved.
Yep. Good job, Willie Patterson. Continuing to have a great senior year. We need it. and he's stepping up when we need it most. So can't wait to see what the rest of the year brings for Willie. All right.
All right, man.
Anything else we want to talk about before we get in to the recap of the Northern Colorado Bear game?
That was stats.
Yeah, we've been wanting to put together a little thing a la the Golden Coolie jingle thing for stats. We'll figure something out. Haven't had time to do that yet. And Foley, let's not spend a whole lot of time talking about the Northern Colorado game. I'd much rather we talk about the Weber game. We already hashed out some of the stuff in the instant reaction show, so we'll kind of move this along maybe quicker than we have other recaps. But let's get into the stats. The Bobcats win this game, 37-14 down in Greeley. Bobcats compiled 22 first downs to 21 for the Bears, so pretty even there. This was not even. The Bobcats 6 of 12 on third down. The Bears just 2 of 14. They could not convert anything all day long. Mm-hmm. They also went for it 6 times on fourth down, converting just 2 of those. They did put together 394 yards of offense, including 286 on the ground, but just 286 through the air, with just 108 on the ground, where the Bobcats were able to put up 481 yards of offense, 250 through the air, and 231 on the ground for a very balanced attack by the Bobcats. 23 passing attempts, but 45 rushing attempts, so not particularly balanced in the play calling aspect of it. 7 penalties for the Bobcats and 5 for the Bears. It was a pretty heavily penalized game, kind of a sloppy game in a lot of ways. 1 turnover each for each team, and then each team right around 30 minutes of time of possession. In fact, 10 seconds apart in the time of possession, so extremely even in a lot of those stats there. So if you're looking at it, you're not quite sure how the Bobcats won the game so handily. It's mainly the third down conversion problems for the Bears. They just couldn't sustain drives well enough to get into field goal range or to scoring range, and they completely got shut out in the second half. So there you go. There's the team stats.
According to Bobcat Nation, Montana State was on SportsCenter tonight for the Bad Beat segment. The Cats scored 34 unanswered points to beat Northern Colorado by 23, and UNC was given 22.
That's pretty funny.
More, any point? That's good. Just good to see Montana State on the SportsCenter anytime you can get that.
That's right.
Nice
we're
stuff.
not on the opposite end. We're not on the bad side of the bad beats.
Yeah, no doubt.
Depends how you look at it.
Okay, let's get into some individuals. Malott went 16 for 20, according to ESPN. These are ESPN stats, and I don't know who to believe anymore because ESPN stats don't necessarily line up with the stats that Montana State puts out. But here we go. Tommy Malott was 16 for 20 for 217. He had 3 touchdowns. He was 7 for 40 on rushing with a long of 13. Sean Chambers was 2 for 3 for 33 with 1 touchdown, a dime to Willie Patterson. He was 9 for 39 with an average of 4.5 yards per rush. Sumner had himself a day. He had 22 carries for 130 with a long of 21. Elijah Elliott only had 4 carries for 20 yards. Or maybe that's the 70. I can't read my own handwriting. Do you have that right there, Thorny? Can you check on Elliott for me? 4 carries for 20 yards. Thank you. Willie P. Let's get into his stat line. 7 catches, 148 yards, 3 touchdowns. Touchdowns of 16 yards, 37 yards, and 26 yards. That was the one from Chambers. Derek Snell had himself 1 pass over the middle, but it went for a total of 44 yards. That was a great pitching catch from Tommy Malott. David Alston had 4 catches for 23 yards. RJ Fitzgerald had his 3rd TD and his 3rd game, but it was 1 catch. It was on a nice little play action from the goal line. Tyler Cotta had 1 interception. Noel Naskelson had 12 total tackles. Holy cow. And 1 tackle for a loss. He had himself a game. Valdez had 1 sack and 4 tackles. Ben Seymour, 4 total and 2 tackles for a loss. Kenneth Iden, the 4th, 1.5 sacks.
Yeah.
Coming in for Brody Greeley, who was, he got kicked out of the game for a questionable targeting call. Blake Hill had a sack. And Zach Black, here you go. He had a half a sack. We had 4 total sacks on Dylan McCaffrey. On Dylan McCaffrey, let's talk about a little bit about the Bears. He had 33 completions out of 49 attempts. That's big. I don't know if, recalling off the top of my head, if we faced another quarterback who had close to 50 attempts passing against us. He had 259 yards. Elijah Dotson, he had 16 carries for 101 yards and 1 touchdown. Ryan, I remember you speaking last week about Elijah Dotson, how they use him in the passing game. He had minus 13 yards of pass catch in this game, or minus 14, something like that. He had 7 catches for minus 13 yards.
This says 7 catches for 26 yards.
Well, see, there you go. ESPN sucks, so just go off mine. It sounds a little better. Zane Zinicola, I don't know. He was a problem for us. He had 10 catches for 77 yards, and then Travis Graham had 6 catches for 66 yards. That's it, UNC stats. That's Montana State stats. That's our stats segment.
Stats. There, it ended.
I think we should sell that segment, Thorny, to our listeners out there. If you want to sponsor our stats segment, you can get at us.
We'll
sell it to you.
Cool little jingle or something.
Yep.
So
let's do it.
The thing that I'm looking at the stats now, first time I've actually really looked at them. Elijah Dotson had 6.3 yards per carry, and then Jaquez Robertson, the only other running back who really got any carries, only got 3 carries, but he had 8 yards a carry. So their running backs actually did really well against us in terms of yards per carry, but they were just completely committed to throwing the ball at only 5.6 yards per attempt. So they had good success when they ran the ball, but they just didn't go to it very often. And they were even like running the ball late in the game when everyone should have, or I'm sorry, passing the ball late in the game when they should have just been trying to get out of there injury free. And I think they ended up getting a guy hurt really late in the game when like they should have just been trying to grind the clock out and get out of there. But interesting strategy by the Bears. Some head scratching coaching decisions by Ed McCaffrey and staff, who, as far as I'm concerned, continue to be a bit over their head at the collegiate level. But I think they are making some strides as a team and as a program. Like, they weren't completely horrible on Saturday. Not as bad as some other Bears squads I've seen anyway. They have some talent, but overall, dominating performance by the Bobcats. We've spotted them 14 points, basically. One of them, terrible tackle attempt by Kendrick Bailey on a long touchdown run. The other one aided by a bad penalty call on Brody Greeley, and then a questionable touchdown reception that probably should have been reviewed and overturned as he was bobbling it as he was coming down with it. But none of it ended up mattering as we scored the next, 34 straight points after that. So an interesting game, but not a whole lot to take away from this game in terms of X's and O's or maybe anything that we can even apply moving forward from this game. It's just kind of one of those games you just kind of get through and get to the next game.
Some concerning things outside the positives. Montana State, again, goes down early. We give up a gashing play. I'm sure I heard Ty Gregorak mention it. We have some sort of bad staff for giving up big-time plays early on, hence the 58-yard touchdown from Elijah Dotson. And another concerning thing is Montana State has trouble setting the edge on defense. This is where most of the teams will attack Montana State around the outside of the tackles. It's not good for us, Thorny. That is very concerning. If I was Weber State, I would not be running up the gut. Montana State seems to be doing better, plugging those A-gap and B-gap holes, but around the ends, we are having a hard time setting the edge.
Yeah, I think Sebastian Valdez and Blake Schmidt are playing really well at the interior of the line, but we're having a really hard time setting the edge. And then I don't know if the nickel Okada's not in the right spot. The linebackers aren't quick enough to get there, but guys are just running around the edge and then finding themselves with a lot of green after that.
Yeah.
Like Kendrick Bailey, he got himself in the right position. He made a terrible angle and a terrible attempt at a tackle, but there was nobody else there. Like, he shouldn't have been put into that position so easily. Like, there was nobody slowing down Dotson from the line of scrimmage. He just got to the edge, and it was poor Bailey one-on-one against a guy like Elijah Dotson. Now, it looked really ugly, but Elijah Dotson's going to make a lot of people miss. So,
yeah,
maybe not miss quite that ugly, but it was a bad situation, and that continues to be a problem for the Cats, setting the edge and giving up just long rushing plays. let alone all the stuff we've talked about, kind of the soft passes over the middle. We continue to struggle with that a little bit as well. But, this kind of reared its ugly head again. The running game, the running defense.
Well, we got out of Greeley, a soul-sucking place to play. You have about 4,500 fans. I hate playing games like this.
Yeah.
Playing Weber, I get up for. Playing Northern Colorado, Northern Arizona, you're just like, I just hope we don't get hurt.
I mean, if they had like a venue that had like 12, 13, 14,000 fans or something, that'd be pretty cool. You can get up for that kind of stuff, even if the team's bad, but at least there's some fans there. But, it's a bad program, and half the fans there are Bobcat fans. And, this is what just makes me kind of souring on the whole Big Sky Conference, is these kinds of games.
No.
And you hope to get out injury-free, which we very much did not, which is very unfortunate going into the Weber State game, losing Cole Sane and Marcus Ware, the entire right side of our offensive line down in basically the same half of football. I think they happened not that far apart from each other in the game. Pretty frustrating. We got out there with the win. I don't know what else to really say about this one. Tommy Mellott looked pretty decent coming back from his injury. He was pretty efficient, had a pretty good rating going on that, the QB rating or whatever they call it in college. It's not the same thing as the pros. But, 16-21, is that what he was? Really high efficiency. Looked good throwing the ball around. Looked pretty quick on some scrambles. Good to see him kind of getting back in there. I know you and I are both probably wishing that Sean Chambers or Tommy Lott, whichever one of them, was kind of more of us taking majority of the snaps, like all the snaps. But, it looked pretty good.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how you thought about how Montana State played Sean Chambers in the Tommy Mellott role, because I have a couple thoughts on that, but give me your quick take on that. What do you think about the 2 QB system?
I mean, I don't love it. I'm kind of souring on it, but it's winning football games, so it's hard to deny that. It's just it's not something that's as traditional, and those things always kind of just don't sit right with you. I do like that they played him a lot more than maybe they plan on doing in other games, because we just needed to get him kind of back up to speed for Weber State. And that thought kind of occurred to me today. Maybe they did it. Maybe they would plan for more of a 70-30 or closer to equal split in a normal game. But, Tommy Lott's coming off the injury. You just want to get him as much game reps as you can before the big showdown at Weber. So maybe this isn't what it's going to look like in other games. But I don't know. It's hard to go back to this after watching Sean Chambers play so well, taking 100% of the snaps. And that's just the hardest part. It's just digesting this after enjoying that so much.
Yeah, and kind of a thing on Chambers. I thought they did Chambers a little dirty there when they put him in right away and they asked him to throw a dime. Sean Chambers is a guy that needs to be in the game, get the rhythm of the game, feel the confidence of a couple plays. They put him in there, one play in the red zone. They asked him to throw a dime. He did to Willie P, to his credit. But then they went back to that same play for Cleveland Thomas, and that's when they threw the interception in the red zone. I just kind of shaking my head. I was like, why would you do that right there? That's just a bad play call. Just give him something to get it in sort of rhythm. I don't like the 2 QB system, Thorny, because I feel like you just, like you said, man, when one of our quarterbacks had Sean Chambers, when he was taking the lion's share of the snaps, you saw what was happening. He was getting in a groove. He had command of the offense. It just felt more cohesive all of a sudden. Now we have to kind of play this game where, okay, Mellott's starting off a little bit shaky. He settles in. Chambers comes in. He could be good for a play or two. It just feels disjointed, and it feels like Montana State's kind of forcing it. And I don't feel like Montana State's going to go away from it. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's as good as NDSU with their 2 quarterbacks last year. I don't think people are talking about the 2 quarterback system at Sac State with Dunaway and what's the other one?
Asher O'Hara.
I don't know, man. I'm not a fan, and I know this is gonna get a little bit of flack because it's all over it's all over Bobcat Nation, but I still think we should have went with Chambers. Take the hits right now. Just continue to build confidence. Continue to build consistency. That's the biggest thing. we're not building consistency when we're running a 2-quarterback system.
We're not. And I don't know how that affects the locker room and the mentality, but that was the plan going in, and I think everyone was okay with it, and I'm okay with that being the plan now. But yeah, like I said, it was just so nice seeing a guy take such good control and command of the offense and just look so good, getting into a rhythm and slinging it around. It was just hard to not do that. But I'll admit, Tommy Mellott looked pretty good though. 16-20. That's a good percentage. And Willie
Once
P
he settled in.
Yeah, once he settled in, and when Willie P dropped one on him, he should have thrown an interception. That touchdown to Willie Patterson should have been a pick. What an amazing catch by Willie Patterson, basically just wrestling it straight away from the defender who had position, had it in his gut, pretty sure. But Willie came up and over and snatched it right out of him. But should have been an interception for Tommy Mellott. But overall, it's fine. I know the coaches have a plan, and I kind of just trust Vegan in the house right at this point. But it's personally, I prefer one guy doing the whole thing. And it was hard for me to deny how good Sean Chambers looked in those 2 games, but it is what it is. we won again, and I feel like when we play a team like we are going to need both guys. Different styles.
I'm at a loss for words. I don't know. Like, I'm so kind of confused on it right now. It's just like you go down every path and you're like, well, what do I think? I don't know what I think anymore.
Yeah. It's hard. There's so much to analyze. There's pros and cons of everything. There really is no clear, definitive, easy answer, I don't think.
Yeah.
But whatever's working is working, so maybe we just stick with that.
My gut's still telling me to stick with Sean Chambers. That's what I want.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to be proven wrong. I hope I'm proven wrong, but the eye test, man. I mean, it passed for me when I saw Sean out there leading our offense. It really did. So there you go.
Well, all right. Let's move on from this conversation, which I feel like we've had. I've been arguing on Bobcat Nation. I feel like I've talked this thing to death. Let's move on to something else. Is there anything else you want to talk about on this game?
I'm glad we're out of Greeley, man. 6-1.
Glad we're
Coach Vegan's 18-4 as a head coach at Montana State. That's amazing. That guy. He's sneaky good.
Yep.
His steady hand.
Is he getting the credit he deserves?
I don't know. Like, I was thinking about this the other day. It feels a little bit like, okay, so coming into the season, we all are like, all right, last year, we all knew the star power. We're like, okay, Coach Vegan, hands off, let the stars be the stars with his national championship. And now he continues to win. I was like, whoa, that's different because we don't have the star players. We're short on a lot of positions, i.e. safety, now offensive line, running back, and we're continuing to win against adversity. We're down 14-3 on the road and we come back and win. No panic.
No.
Coach Vegan doesn't panic. This guy, he's starting to win me over a little bit more. I say that all the time. Like, I'm like holding out for some reason. Coach Vegan just
go all in,
call
baby.
to me like
go all in.
I don't know if I can. I've tried.
You're not
I really
ready to
have.
be hurt again.
It's just like it's like being in a relationship with a girlfriend you're just not that into. You're like, I like you, but I don't know if you're the one.
Yeah,
that's
I was thinking more like you
me,
just don't want to get hurt again. Maybe that's what you want. You don't want to fall in love, so if someone else leaves again. If we're keeping on the girlfriend analogy.
It's like I can't like break up with her because there's nothing wrong with her. I just don't feel like the excitement,
If going to the national championship doesn't spark that flame fully, I don't know what to tell you.
That was more of like a Troy Anderson, Daniel Hardy flame, though. It was, though. You got to admit that. It wasn't a Brent Vegan flame.
No, but I am on the vegan train this year.
Yeah.
And I actually think that's one of our best reasons we could beat Weber is because of Brent Vegan's coaching style and the way he prepares the team. Gets the team prepared.
Yeah, I'm with you, buddy.
All right, let's move on to Weber State, man.
Weber State's going down. Just before we get into any of the matchups, I want to just say it's going down at noon Pacific Coast time. So that's 1:00 Bozeman time. Saturday is when all this high pressure, all these lovely days we've been experiencing in the West, the 70-degree days that we've had are going away. Saturday. Have you seen Saturday's weather forecast?
I have not. Where are you
In
referring
Bozeman?
to? In Bozeman. Okay, no, what is it?
Yeah. I think it's like 56, rain, maybe a little snow in the morning. It's going to be, all of a sudden, fall's going to smack you in the face and it's going to feel like winter. It's going to be
Sure.
one of those days over in Bozeman. So, I wish, Brian, I wish this game was a night game. I wish this was flexed to ESPN and night
For
game
sure.
in front of a full-throated 22,000 people at Bobcat Stadium. I would love that. I would revel in that. But I'm sure it's going to be 22,000 people at high noon in Bozeman.
It
But
will be.
this has like a primetime feel type of game.
It does. And last year was the primetime Friday matchup on ESPNU in Ogden, under the
Yeah.
lights in Ogden. So it only feels we should do the same this year because it's just as big as it's bigger than it was last year because this is 2 top 5 teams because Weber is what they are 5 and we are 3. So yeah, 5 versus number 3. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I hope Bobcat Nation
Come to
shows up.
Bozeman Friday night. Go down to Sacramento on Saturday night. Get both Montana schools on ESPN. Let's do this.
That'd be sweet.
That would be awesome.
Oh, sorry. Big yawn. All right. Let's move into a bit of a recap on Weber's season to date. They are currently 6-0. Taking care of Western Oregon week 1, 41-5. In a game that started off really sluggish. I remember that game. Like Weber State was only up like 10-0 at halftime, or it was really ugly, then completely dominated in the second half. Then they smoke Utah State, FBS Utah Mountain West member Utah State 35-7. And I believe Utah State's only touchdown was like a kickoff return for a touchdown. So at this point, Weber State has given up, like their defense has given up 0 touchdowns. Utah Tech take care of them 44-14. I think Utah Tech scores a few touchdowns in garbage time late in the game. Big win at UC Davis, 17-12 in a slugfest, but a win nonetheless. Then they come back and just demolish Eastern Washington 45-21. That game was never in question. And then they go on the road this last week at Portland State and win that game 42-7 in a game that was also not even close. 35-0 at one point. I think they pulled all their starters midway through the third quarter. So Weber State dominating everybody. They've only allowed, I have the stats somewhere, but they've only allowed like 5 or 6 touchdowns the entire year. Looking at this, the Weber State fan posted on the board that in their 5 Division I games, the defense has given up 0 points to Utah State, 14 points to Utah Tech, 0 in the second half, 12 points to UC Davis, 14 points to Eastern Washington, and 7 to Portland State. So they haven't, I mean, that's just the defense, not like special teams or anything else crazy like that. So that's pretty impressive. Their defense has been absolutely dominating, and they are off to their best start in, I don't know, I don't have the stats in front of me, but a really good start. And they are thinking all of a sudden national championship aspirations down there in Ogden.
Weber State's number 1 in defense in the Big Sky, only allowing 11 points per game.
Oof.
Montana State is number 5 in defense, allowing 25.3% or 25.3 points per game. Montana State is number 2 in offense in the Big Sky with 40.6 points per game. The biggest difference I see this year in Weber is they have an offense all of a sudden. With Bronson Barron, they're number 3 in the Big Sky, averaging 37.3 points per game. Weber State loved to play games dirty and tough, winning 12-17 like they did, or 17-12 against UC Davis. But that seems to be the exception this year when you look at those scores you just laid out for us, Ryan.
Yeah, every other game besides that game, they
offense,
scored 35 plus and multiple times in the 40s.
Yeah, their new offense, and Coach Vegan talked about it in their press conference today. They've started to implement the RPO, and I think that really fits Bronson Barron. He's not a guy that's going to beat you with his feet, but he's a guy that can scramble and throw on the run. And that is his strength, and he has receivers like Ty McPherson, who is his one of those senior guys that has just been around for a long time that is going to we got to keep track of him, right? So that's a big target for them. But I mean, I'm just been super impressed with McPherson. I think last week I said he's probably the top guy in the Big Sky. I was wrong. When I was doing my research, he's the number 5 quarterback in the Big Sky, but he's very efficient. He's very efficient. They have a good run balance, like run pass offense. And I think this week, Josh Davis, like that guy's been there for like 10 years, it feels like, right?
Seemingly,
Josh
yes.
Davis is back. So, but they have 3 backs. Coach Vegan was talking about them. Each kind of have a different skill set. They're a tough team. It's going to be a good game.
One thing that stuck out to me when I was looking through the stats here, the rankings, their passing offense is 7th and their rushing offense is 3rd. So they're pretty balanced for a team like Weber State, at least historically, that like probably runs the ball way more than they throw the ball. They're actually middle of the road passing the ball in the Big Sky, which is pretty impressive for the kind of offense that they run down there. And I wish I could find something for the FCS that shows your average starting field position. I assume that they don't have a lot of yards necessarily because they probably have really good field position from their defense and their special teams. So they have short fields all the time. And that's going to be one of the big keys I talk about in a little bit. But they don't have to go too far, but they're scoring tons of points, but they're not racking up the yardage. That tells you they're not going too far for their points.
Interesting stat on this. We're going to be pulling in some comparisons here. I know that Montana State is number 1 in red zone offense. We score at 78, almost 79% of the time. Weber's number 1 in red zone defense. You know who's last in red zone defense?
The Bobcats.
The Bobcats. That's right.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
No, it's not.
Where is that stat? Red zone defense. They're Montana State way down the bottom. Yeah, not too awesome. All right. Is there any other mismatches or anything before we start talking about anything else? We're kind of talking a little bit stats here.
So I do have a mismatch. One thing that stood out to me: Montana State is the second least penalized team in the Big Sky. Weber State is the most penalized team in the Big Sky.
That could be an advantage. That could be when you're looking at like other things where you can't quite decide who has an advantage. Those little type things right there can be huge. We need some breaks there probably in the penalty department, or at least Weber to commit some penalties, some false starts. I've noticed that their offense, as good as it can be, still is a little bit mistake prone. I think they fumbled the ball quite a bit this year. And judging by the penalties, I think they probably have some procedure penalties offside or false starts and those kinds of things. So hopefully their offense shoots themselves in the foot a little bit, and hopefully Bobcat Nation aids in that with some noise, bringing the noise on Saturday.
Yeah. You know, the take on Bobcat Nation I've seen a lot lately is, can MSU beat Weber? And I'm frankly kind of tired of this underdog mentality a lot of the Cat fans take when we play these high-level games. Why aren't we asking the question of, can they beat us? Like, we're number 3 in the nation. Can they beat us? Can they come
Bozeman.
to Bozeman and take down the Cats?
It's a great question.
Like, where's the confidence? A lot of the Cats this year have been like holding their breath. Media has been holding their breath. Or, I mean, you can talk about us. We're probably part of that media. But why? Coach Vegan, 18-4.
You're coming full circle.
When's
back
it gonna
to
click?
Not loving vegan,
When's it gonna click?
In the vegan we trust. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a valid point. Like, it's one of those, you're not used to consistently being that top program just yet. We're getting there, and I've moved on from being worried about games like Northern Colorado. Like, I wasn't worried about that game. Like what I would have been 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Correct.
So I am slowly adjusting my expectations and not stressing out about beating teams that we shouldn't beat. But I still get nervous when I look at teams that are equal, or maybe we might be underdogs. This case, we're at home. I don't think we'll be underdogs in any sort of gambling situation. But that's Weber State has been just pummeling people. They have the number 2 scoring defense in the country. I mean, there's a lot to give worry to Bobcat fans of this game, but.
Yeah,
you're right. It's we have a lot that should worry Weber State fans too. Like,
exactly.
There's a lot that the Bobcats.
And let's be honest, Ryan. If we lose this game, we lost to the number 5 team in the nation. There's not going to be a lot of repercussions coming out of it unless we lose, the next 2 games coming after this, NAU, Cal Poly. I don't think that's going to happen. But if a loss to Weber it's not the world's over.
No, I bet we fall farther than the Grizz did losing to unranked Idaho, though. Just because they're the Grizz and they didn't get penalized that badly for it, which is ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, don't even say that to me.
They dropped 5 spots.
No, we would flip-flop places. Weber would become 3, or Weber would come 3, we would come 5.
Yeah, I hope so. I worry that we'd fall further than that, but shouldn't.
Who cares?
Shouldn't.
We would be, 6-2? Against a top 5 team in the FBS team?
I want to. This is an interesting conversation, and I want to interject a Golden Coolie question here. That's kind of on the same topic. To pause our preview right now, Brendan Henshaw on Twitter asks us, "How has your optimism for a playoff run changed since the beginning of the season?" I think it's a really good question.
Ooh. Has it?
It has changed for me. I mean, when I penciled in where I thought we'd finish, I had us finishing pretty well, but I didn't think we'd be capable of going back to the national championship this year. I didn't see that for the Bobcats. I was thinking maybe we could make it to the semifinals or maybe a quarterfinals this year, but now I think I have increased my expectations based on how good we've looked. I still think there's going to be some things that hold the Bobcats back, but I actually think we have the ceiling to do so. I don't know if we'll get there, but I think my expectations have increased for this Bobcat team based on how we've played this year.
That's weird to say, Thorny, because I think both of you and I had 9-2.
Yeah,
as penciled in for the in 7-1 in the conference, and so.
But this,
we're winning either this game or
question specifically though.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, to be honest, the FCS is so watered down that if we're not making a semifinal appearance, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing? We should be one of the last 4 teams in there. And then if you're one of the last 4 teams, maybe it's a coin flip to get to the national championship. Unfortunately, is it Justin? The skill, the talent is not there in the FCS anymore. We're keeping this thing afloat, people. The FCS is a dying ship. The Big Sky is keeping this afloat. Take Montana State, Sac State, Weber State out. This thing is dying. This thing's going down. I mean, South Dakota, North Dakota State, you're looking at the top 6 without those guys. There is a big drop-off.
You're right.
There is a ginormous drop-off. Don't kid yourself.
Yeah, no, that's you are absolutely right. There's going to be teams that step up and rise up, but absolutely, we should be one of those teams that's consistently, at the very least, in the Elite 8. That should be like a floor.
No, quarterfinal, man. Oh, yeah, Elite 8. Okay, so if we don't make the quarterfinals, that is
a disappointment.
That's a huge. That's a terrible season for us at this point.
All right, good question. I like that question.
Yeah.
Going back over to our preview here. Actually, I'll ask one more question since I got one up here that's going to transition us back into the game chat. Jake, Hoppe. How would you say that? Is that Hoppy? I don't know,
Hoppy.
Jake. I'm sorry. What is your biggest worry playing this Weber team? What is our ace in the hole for this game? Do you want to take that one or do you want me to jump in?
Oh, yeah. Why don't you go?
I got something for the ace in the hole. I think the ace in the hole is going to be more Chambers than we saw this last game. And possibly more of the outside run game than we've been seeing. We're going to see something new from Housewright. I don't know what it is necessarily, but he's been scheming up different game plans every week. So I think Chambers will be more involved in the running game this time, and perhaps get some more of the receivers, maybe some more Marquis Johnson or Taco Dowler involved in this one to get the speed to attack the edges. So I think the speed from the wide receiver position, and perhaps some unique ways to use Chambers and maybe Tommy Lott at the same time could be our ace in the hole.
Yeah. I'm with you on the speed on the outside. He talked about today that how they use a lot of man coverage in 6 defensive backs. And when they're going cover 0 or maybe like a cover 3 concept where they're dropping 3 safeties and then doing like a 3 underneath right there. If we can get guys to clear out that zone, and we can use speed on the outside, as you said. I think we have some potential to hit some gashing plays with Marquis Johnson and Taco Dowler.
Absolutely. And then what was the other part of his question? I already went off it. Oh, what's your biggest worry playing this Weber team? My biggest worry is their run defense and that we just won't get the running game going at all, which is something we haven't really seen the Bobcats struggle with in any major way. I don't know have we even rushed for under 200 at any point this year. I'm not sure we have.
We haven't, no.
So I'm worried
we're number one in the Big Sky for rushing.
Yeah, I think I'm worried that they'll be able to stuff the running game and we'll just have a hard time moving the football and scoring any points.
They have a pretty elite defensive backfield.
They do.
Led by, what's his name? Max Anderson. He's the leading the Big Sky with 5 interceptions. So that is a true concern. My biggest concern is Bronson Barron. I put that guy on a pedestal for some reason. He's when I saw him, I don't know. He just seems like a really good quarterback. Maybe there's something there that I like about him. We made him feel pretty uncomfortable last year. That's for sure. That was a lot of Daniel Hardy, though.
Yes, absolutely.
A little bit of Troy Anderson.
Yeah, we were able to get to him last year, but Weber has only been sacked. I have the stats somewhere. Goodness, sacks against. Yeah, they're number 1. They've only been sacked like 5 or 6 times all year. They're the number 1 least sacked team in the Big Sky Conference. So you can almost just assume that we're not going to get to him all that much. And I had it highlighted on my notes. My worry is that Barron sits in the pocket and hits wide open receivers all day. So I guess I should have said that for my biggest worry, because I clearly have it highlighted here with the word worry in my sentence. It's clearly a worry. I am worried about Bronson Barron being able to get the ball moving, and I'm worried that we're not going to be able to run the ball. And then that's a recipe for a bad game for the Bobcats.
Gosh, last year, what was their score last year?
Was it like 12-9 or something?
It was weird.
12-8?
Yes, this is where we couldn't move the ball. Matt McKay was kind of the beginning of his demise.
Yes.
As a Bobcat. It was a weird game. It was a good game we won. It crushed their playoff hopes. But offense was not good. So, yeah, I wonder what we're going to do.
It's kind of funny being a complete opposite from last year in terms of I'm worried about our defense doing enough to stop their offense. Like, that wasn't really a concern last year. Because Weber's offense was pretty bad this year. So it's almost like a complete opposite. I'm worried about our defense and I'm worried about their offense.
Yeah. Well, with their man coverage, we're gonna have to exploit some 50-50 balls. We seem to be pretty good at that, at least with Tommy Malott passing the ball. But we have to find matchups. They like to play a lot of man. We got to find some matchups that are key for us.
So let's talk a few keys to victory, and let's get out of here. So you're saying one of our biggest keys is being able to win some one-on-one battles against the man coverage.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I agree with that.
But one of my biggest key, special teams, I think is going to be pretty good in this one. We can't make any mistakes, and we were really good at returns, getting yardage in the return game. So we need to do good in not allowing big returns and make Weber State drive the whole field. Now, whether that's Glessner's kicking out of the back of the end zone every time, I would love to see that. But we need to make Weber State drive 80, 75 yards to score points in this game. We can't have them return the ball to the 45, the 50-yard line and give them a short field.
Montana State has done good in the special teams this year as far as coverage goes. I think Bryce Layton has improved as well. His punts seem to be
He played really well against Northern Colorado. He had a really good game. He had that one that hit out of bounds right on the 5-yard line at the intersection of the 5-yard line and the out of bounds line. It was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great one.
It was.
Let's see. I think
we need to.
Yeah, you got it.
Sorry. Yeah. As always, we need to make the quarterback feel uncomfortable. And that needs to come from not only our defense, but our fans as well. They're down. We got to get noisy. And I don't think we won't. It's just, that's one of the things I feel confident about is playing in Bozeman. I think Montana State wins this game. It's because we play at home.
Yeah.
It's a big deal for us.
That's a huge advantage. And I had this one penciled as a win, but I'm feeling way less confident than I was when I penciled it as a win because I was pretty wrong about Weber. I didn't think they were going to be all that much this year. I don't know what I have them down for, but I had them losing like 4 games or something. I don't think they're going to lose 4 games this year. But yeah, being in Bozeman is a huge advantage for the Cats, and I would not be feeling anywhere near as mildly confident as I am now if the game was in Ogden again, which is very well could have been with the way the Big Sky schedule things. Turnover margin, I think it's going to be real big in this game. I think both, Weber State's really high nationally in terms of takeaways. They're also pretty high in giving the ball away. I don't think their turnover margin. They're the 4th in the Big Sky Conference, and MSU is 3rd. But they're like one of the first. I think they're 1st in the country in interceptions. So they're leading the country in interceptions by a wide margin, but they're only 4th in turnover margin. That means they're turning the ball over a lot too. This is a game where if the Bobcats can come out ahead in the turnover margin over Weber State, I think that's going to go a long ways to securing a victory.
Switch the topic on you real quick. I got a buy or sell question for you. Quarterback play for Montana State. Buy or sell, Malott takes 80% of the snaps.
Sell.
What percent?
70, 75. I mean, 80 is not far off, but it's not going to be 80 if we're getting real statistical. It's not going to be 50-50, but I have to stick to my ace in the hole Chambers comment I made earlier. So I gotta think it'll be a little bit less than 80%.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering how we attack this offense. I mean, you said they are the number 1 team taking interceptions. Our pass game is not prolific. They play a lot of man, so we're going to be looking for man coverage. They have 6 DBs. They don't play a nickel. They have 6 DBs out there. That's tough. I don't see Malott and Chambers having like a lot of options they feel comfortable with. I mean, that's where we got to lean into the coaches, Coach Halstead and Coach Vigan. What kind of options are they seeing where they can exploit? Hopefully, like you said, the run game. Can we run outside zone? I don't think we were running outside zone as much against Northern Colorado as we were in previous
I think that
games.
was on purpose.
Okay. All right.
I'm
with you on that.
To set something up or just to practice running inside zone. I don't think it was anything other than we just wanted to put it on film that we do that also.
Okay.
One thing about man coverage that's a big benefit for the Bobcats, man, if like Chambers or Malott can bust through that initial wave, you got man coverage with their guys with their back to the ball. That's how you get 70-yard touchdown runs.
Yep. You're right.
So that if MSU can get the running game past that first level of defenders, there's going to be a lot of situations for the Bobcats to be able to make one guy miss and then have a big, huge play. And we've been very good at getting to the second level this year.
I really wish we were just rolling with Chambers in this game. This feels like a momentum type of game. You need a guy that's in the groove to beat this team. I don't feel like switching out quarterbacks. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But that's just what my gut's telling me right now.
So you say we're going to win this game.
I never make predictions on here. But that's what my gut's saying. I'm tired of this underdog mentality.
I like it.
Like, we're always afraid of like these, like, ooh, how can Montana State? Did that come from Jeff Choate and just losing prior to that to Choate? Because remember, Choate used to be like, how do we beat these guys? And we would kind of be like, kind of snicker at it. Did he make us believe that we could never beat our opponent?
I think I fall in the same trap as Jeff Choate when he starts looking at film and he realizes, hey, these guys got some dudes. I start looking at stats. I start looking like, oh, man, how are we going to beat the number 2 defense in the country?
Yeah, but these games aren't won on paper.
Exactly. I'm just saying, like, I get where Choate's coming from, but, that's not how we should be approaching it. We should be more confident and more optimistic as a fan base, man. We are the number 3 team in the country. Let's go out there and let's prove it. Let's prove it on Saturday. Let's take care of business. Let's hand Weber State their first loss. Let's do it.
Okay. Thorny, question for you. Maybe one of my last questions for you. Cats win. Are the Cats in the playoffs?
Yes. Well,
no matter what.
I said if the Cats beat Weber and lose 3 straight games on the instant reaction show, that would be borderline. But I think with Weber being a top 5 team right now, that's such a huge resume builder. But losing 3 in a row is a really bad way to get into the postseason. But We probably still will, but it'd be really close. It matters how you finish. The committee does look at that.
Question then. Second question. If we lose to Weber, lose one of the 2 games to not Northern Colorado, Cal Poly, NAU, and then let's say we do lose to Montana. So in the last 4 games, we win 1. Make that 7 win. Are we going to the playoffs?
Are you asking if we lose to Weber and the Grizz, but beat NAU or Cal Poly?
Yeah.
I don't think we get in.
Really?
That will have meant we lost to Cal Poly or NAU. That's a terrible loss.
Still get 7 wins. Still got 7 wins.
7 wins not a magic number anymore.
Montana State's number 3 in the nation right now. You don't think Montana State still gets in? They leave Montana State out.
So we lose to Weber State. We fall
Montana
to like
State out at that point.
We fall to 5 or 6 in the polls. Then we lose to Cal Poly. We drop down to like 16 or 17. Man, we beat NAU. We go back up to 15 or 14. We lose to the Grizz. We fall down to like 20.
Montana State still gets in.
Maybe, probably. But I'm not feeling very good about anything at that point. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. I thought last week was a big win. That's 6 win because I do think at worst, we're going to have 1 more win. At worst.
Yeah.
If we lose the next 4, like that'd be terrible. I don't think that's going to happen though.
Nope. I think that won't happen with the way Vegan just is doing things. I don't see letdowns right now. He's giving me no reason to assume that this team will have a letdown. It's just not how he plays.
All right.
Coaches, whatever.
Any more Golden Coolie questions?
I mean, we have one about the Grizz special teams. I don't know if you want to tackle that one or not.
Give it to me.
Our buddy Roger Fisher on Twitter asks us, are you surprised by the special teams miscues from the Grizz against Idaho, given how good they have been at special teams recently? Yeah, I was a little surprised. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Yeah. They also had some really good special teams play. I've seen a lot of people ripping on the special teams, but they also had Malik Flowers returned like past the 50-yard line. And I think Junior Bergen had a huge punt return. They had 2 huge returns in that game, too. But, the problematic, what was it, Rohrback, did he drop a punt into the end zone and then fall on it and get a safety? Is that what happened?
I think that's right.
I'm a little confused because I just watched the Cardinals-Seahawks game, and the Seahawks punter dropped it, but then fumbled it, and then the Cardinals got it. So now I'm conflating 2 things that happened. But, yeah, it was a safety. So that was a real bad one. That was a real bad one for sure.
Coach Eck didn't mention in the post-game presser that he saw a tendency that they were leaving early on coverage, and that's why he came out in the second half with a pooch kick, an onside kick, to regain the momentum.
Yeah, I mean, taking the team by surprise on a special teams, I mean, yes, you should. That shouldn't happen, but is that poor special teams coaching? I don't know. That you're going to catch a team every once in a while on that. I don't know how big a deal that really is. I didn't watch the entire game, so I don't have a huge comment on this, but surprising, probably. Disappointing to me, no, not at all. Love it. I don't love any sort of meltdowns in Missoula.
Are you surprised about the narrative now? Because the hype train for Montana, man, it was, holy cow, they are just rolling. And now they have some glaring mistakes, quote unquote. Come on.
They absolutely did. So, yeah, I'm interested to see how they do. If they lose to Sac State, I think the Grizz are in real big trouble, and I'm really interested to hear the narrative on the Grizz if that happens.
Excuses will be flying.
All right.
Bobby Houck does this every single year, man. The same story every single year. They'll probably go on and rattle off 4 or 5 wins in a row and then lose in the quarterfinals or semifinals.
Probably.
But they do.
I did love, I didn't listen to much of it, but I did listen to a very specific question in Bobby Houck's presser today. Somebody asked him about rebounding after a loss, and he just went on this big rant about, well, we lost. Everyone loses. We're going to come back and play hard again next week. I don't understand your question. It doesn't matter what sport you're playing. You're playing chess. You're going to lose. What are we supposed to just quit? He just railed on this guy. I think it was the new beat reporter for the Missoulian. Welcome to press conferences with Bobby Houck. What a pud.
I watched that. My thought was this: like, if my father was alive and I was in Bobby Houck's shoes and I responded in that way, I just thought my dad would be so disappointed in me because his demeanor, it's just weird. He, like, I saw what that I heard that question. I recognized what that reporter was asking. He's like, "Hey, this happened last year. How are you guys going to respond?" And he just went off on that reporter for no reason. Like, It was just unnecessary.
He was a salty man because he is a salty man, and it was just vintage Bobby, just being a dick for no reason. So glad.
Not a good look.
Yeah, you say what you want about Vegan and not being necessarily exciting press conferences. At least he's not like cringy, awful jerk stuff.
Yeah.
So that's always good. He's not Bobby Houck.
No.
All right, Foley. I think it's getting pretty late over here. Let's call this an episode, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Hope Bobcat Nation shows up. We got a huge game on Saturday against the number 5 team in the country. Be there. Be at watch parties. Be out there on social media supporting your Bobcats. We'd love to see it. Thanks for listening to the show. As always, thanks to Manhattan Bank for being our Dank Bank sponsor.
Woo!
You can always find us on the web, rrcatcast.com. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of those under rrcatcast. There's no and or anything like that. And Foley, man, let's go. Let's go, Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.